What has been the biggest challenge to encourage students to participate in discussions regarding their academic work?
We've tried to create an environment where students can participate in discussions about their academic work. An environment which is fun, non-threatening, help students use their imaginations. And the way we decided to do it was by creating an environment online called the Cairo Cafe. Now, even here in Canadian culture, the idea of the cafe is central to a student experience in many ways. They all go to Starbucks, they go to Tim Hortons, and this is often where they have discussions. And of particular interest to our course, which is about Muslim civilizations, is the fact that this whole concept of the cafe comes from this region of the world. In fact, even the English word coffee comes from Arabic. And so essentially the cafe in that part of the world was a place where travelers and storytellers and others just came together to discuss the news of the day and their ideas and to learn from one another. And so students love going online, pulling up their coffee or their hot chocolate or their tea or whatever they would like to drink, and just sitting there and discussing with other students the projects on which they're working. We used to call this the discussion board. And that very title just seemed to fall flat with students. But the moment we transformed it into a Cairo Cafe, it was a place where students would just love to go. And you'd often see mentions in their travel log that, oh, I'm going to ask so-and-so about this in the Cairo Cafe next week. Or they'd leave a message in their partner's travel log saying, let's get together in the Cairo Cafe because I need to ask you some questions. And so even naming, creating an experience has been an important aspect of that, of fostering discussion.
What have you put in place to support students to scaffold and share their learning through the re-envisioning of this tool?
I think that we've used the Blackboard discussion tool in an imaginative way. We no longer have research journal, which was what we used to have. The research journal has been replaced by the travel log, because the theme of the course is a journey. And so all students, every time they work on their project, record something in their travel log, where they're going. Then, at least once a week, they have to visit the Cairo Cafe. So as they're traveling, they're visiting these various cafes, meeting with other travelers and discussing their travels. Now, the people that they're meeting in these cafes are fellow travelers who are working on similar projects, what we call their guildmates. However, once every month or so, we have a grand gathering of all of the different groups, which we call the Delhi Darbar. Now, a Darbar was a time when people from all across the land would gather together, and the king or whoever it was would summon different people to discuss important issues. So we would have an issue that crosses all of the different groups and ask them to contribute from their perspective so that they would learn about what all of the other groups were doing. So this was the sort of scaffolding that we were looking for. The travel log is what they would enter their experiences on a day-to-day basis. Then they would collaborate in the Cairo Cafe, but with people working on similar projects. However, every once in a longer period of time, they would gather with all of the different groups and discuss important issues of the day. And that was the Delhi Darbar. And the idea that they were participating in something that was exciting and different, I think, has motivated a lot of them and has allowed them to see that their journey is actually very unique, and the theme of the journey is carried on. And you can see that in their travel logs, that many of them have taken to this. And when they're writing their travel logs, they write as if they're writing a travel log, as if they're going from one destination to another destination. And that has been, has allowed them to use their creative juices.